Hello, hello, and welcome. I'm Elias Aalto, one of the co-founders of Wolt, and here we have Niko Karstikko. Nice to have you here today.
Nice to be here today.
First of all, yesterday I told my wife that I'm talking on Arctic15 with Bob W, and she asked who, and I said, no, what? So just in case there's someone in the audience who doesn't yet know sort of the outline of your company, would it be possible to get that 30-second pitch? I will time you.
So Bob W is the smarter alternative to hotels and Airbnbs, effectively. So we are a new category hospitality. That's the best of the hotel experience, best of the Airbnb type experience, packaged up into this affordable luxury brand called Bob W, the avatar of the perfect host. And under the hood, we make the whole thing run on tech, so we never screw things up. And on the other hand, we actually elevate the experience with self-service apps, with a marketplace, with all this data that we're able to action to have this amazingly customized experience. Yep. So in short, for the outsider, we are basically design-led apart hotels that run on tech instead of people, and make 4-star hotel money with a 1-star hotel cost structure.
Very good. And I want to touch on the Bob W part just for a second longer, because they say that there's 2 hard things in software engineering. I mean 3, actually. 3 hard things. There's naming things and there's off by 1 errors. And I have to say that naming things is difficult. With Wolt, we actually spent half a year coming up with a name. And funnily enough, one of our earlier names was a name of a person, and the idea was that this person was this sort of magical cosmopolite that knew every restaurateur and sort of walked in and shook hands with the chef, which now I read the description of Bob W and I'm like, wait a minute, have you been sharing drinks with Mickey? Because it was his strange vision. So like, how did you come up with that? I think it's very, it's short, sweet, and poignant. Yeah. But was that a process?
So we always wanted, basically, you know, the premise is, the background is we were early adopters of Airbnb. But it was, and I've been an Airbnb superhost for 11 years. I loved hosting people. I had a side hustle of 7 apartments here in Helsinki and in Hanko, a town outside of Helsinki. And loved hosting people, loved making the money, loved showing people my city. But you started realizing that the whole Airbnb world is such an amateur show. And if you were in control of the full stack, you could actually elevate that experience. If you were in control of the software, the hardware, and the actual design of the apartments for those short stays from 1 night or a few weeks, you could actually elevate that experience. But the one thing that we feel, the magic you've got from Airbnb, is that hosting. When you've got that perfect host on Airbnb, it's an absolutely magical experience. When they take care of you, they've taken care of the setup, the apartment, what have you. They're really that difference between a great experience and a bad experience. And so we wanted to retain that. So from the get-go, we were thinking of naming it after a person, because the whole service experience is built around this avatar of the perfect host. Now, we were trying to come up with Viking names. We were thinking, because this was like 2018, and the Viking show was all the rage, and we thought, oh, Nordics are cool at this point, so decided to, you know...
Are Vikings great hosts, though?
Yeah, actually, that's a problem probably, too. I guess Vikings weren't the best hosts. But we were thinking like Ragnar and Kari, and asking our foreign friends, and they're like, I have no idea how to spell that. But we always wanted to build this best of both worlds concept, like this hybrid of a hotel and a short stay. And from that perspective, somebody said that, oh, you know, this mantra that you keep repeating, best of both worlds, actually is an acronym of BOBW, Bob W. That sounds like...
Oh, that's cool, that's cool.
And so we thought, hey, let's roll with it.
Coded in there.
It's coded in there, like...
The thing, because I'm looking, there's so many similarities with your company and Wolt, but there's one big glaring dissimilarity, when we started the company, we had our own laptops and we started developing an app.
Yeah.
And then we had an iPad and we went to a restaurant. Funnily enough, I closed our first restaurant deal.
Congrats.
And so we bring the iPad over, and if it doesn't make a sound, it doesn't matter. And then when it sort of blinks, then they get an order.
Yeah.
So it's this sort of setup is getting from zero to something.
Yeah.
It's very easy. You can just do it yourself. But for you, it's like, let's get a hotel that we operate. Like, how does one get your first hotel?
So one does not get one's first hotel. So basically, I mean, let's face it, there's probably no hotel people here. Basically, hotel people are real estate industry, and real estate industry is old farts, old white guys that are 70 years old who don't know how to use an app.
Yeah.
So then when you come to them and you're a nobody, a kid, and you're like, hey, can you rent me this thing that you paid 15 million euros to build?
Yeah. We'll sort of be very agile and iterate a lot of stuff, and maybe we get someone in.
And they said obviously no. So we tried to do that in Helsinki, me and my German co-founder. So then we decided, I've got a couple of apartments. We turned those into Bob W's, and we rented from other private individuals, including my now wife, one apartment. So we had a cluster of 5 in Punavuori in central Helsinki, and that was our MVP. With that, we got the first sort of 10, 15,000 euros of funding. And then we heard from Mikko Silventola, the first investor in Bolt. So
and my neighbor.
Yep. It gets worse, huh? No, but nice
We have
guy.
a cluster of apartments now, so we can turn that into.
Fair enough. So Mikko said, you know, we were talking closely about the project, and he said, actually, I know some prop tech guys in Tallinn. Just go have a chat with them to learn more about the industry. We went there, and they said, I got a guy who knows these, you know, real estate developers. And we found our first location, 41 apartments, studios, and 1 bedrooms in Telliskivi, Tallinn, in Estonia.
Yeah.
A German guy and a Finnish guy decided, what the hell, let's go to Tallinn, and we opened our first property there right before the pandemic.
Nice. But touch on the funding as well before we get to this whole pandemic thing. You've enticed a bunch of high-profile investors to join in the story.
Not you yet, but some others. Yeah.
I got the deck and I was like, yeah, hotels. You know, I feel a pandemic is coming. No, actually, it was after that.
I have to qualify that we are a tech company that operates hospitality.
Exactly.
1/10 of the employees, 9/10 is tech. So
how do you do that? How did you get the investors on board? What's your special sauce? Like, because this is not the traditional pure software play.
Yeah.
Because this has that still like this geographical locational thing, and you have to sort of build it over time in terms of like scaling, a lot like Wolt, right?
Yeah.
So you have to go city by city and sort of territory by territory, so it doesn't scale overnight.
Yeah.
So how did you find these people? How did you convince them to get on board? Is there something magical that we can all learn?
Well, I think that obviously the tough part is exactly how you said is, I mean, I'm a tech entrepreneur for the last 12 years, but then you tell people, oh, I'm going to build a new category of hospitality, a hotel of sorts. And they're like, okay, that's got nothing to do with tech, I'm out. But actually, you know, when you started looking under the hood and we started building the actual tech part, we had to go sort of the uphill battle, plus a pandemic, which isn't great for hospitality. Basically start being able to show that yes, there's a physical element to it, but if you're actually going to create this new category of hospitality, where it's this, you know what you get, short stay experience on steroids, you need to own the full stack. You can't just do the software. I mean, Airbnb is just the software. You need to be in control of the property, the IoT devices, so you can and have that scalability to actually make it work for the guest, for the next generation traveler. And so if you were to do that, you know, we were basically able to show that actually we can replace a chunk of 9/10 of the employee cost early on in our MVP already compared to a hotel. and make the same money. So I think that was the tougher part to convince that. But at the same time, I think it was just our ability to change, pivot from those individual apartments to an actual property and being able to perform right from the get-go. I think that initially convinced them. Then the WeWork crash happened. Then everybody said, "Oh, this is WeWork, but for hotels." So that was another pain in the butt. But I think we've as a result have to be in an era where performance has really mattered, which has been different from my earlier startup journey, where it was a great idea and people throw money at you. Whereas this has been it sounds iffy, and we've been having to prove that with numbers.
But so my understanding is that you grew 8 times year over year last year to this year.
Yep.
In the tens of millions in revenue, aiming to profitability end of this year.
Yep.
So obviously numbers are in check. Now, you mentioned that you are vertically integrated into and not just the software company. We just read about the Hostaway a company in Finland that raised a massive round. Does it make you think, well, maybe we should concentrate on the software, because apparently the multipliers, because their revenues are not they're substantially smaller, my understanding is. But of course they are pure software, so the multipliers are different. Does it make you feel envious of the software people without any sort of real world hassle and difficulties?
I think you would ask me this question 2 years ago, I would have said hell yeah. But we have actually gotten pretty good at the property stuff, luckily. But I think if we look at today, we operate 30 apart hotels in 9 countries across Europe. We open 14 this quarter. Yeah. We hire 1 person per property compared to the equivalent hotel that hires 10 persons per property. We are ranked 4.8 out of 5 on public ratings across those 8 countries. Makes us Europe's best ranked international hospitality operator. Every guest that stays with us turns into a super user and a fan of Bob W. The engine is working now. We make 3 times the margins of a typical hotel. And that just tells us that actually it just works. So let's not change anything. Yeah. But you talk about from the software perspective, in the world of hotels, the more track record you have and the more covenant strength and more the bankable you are, the more you get access. And the more you're able to do things like franchising, like Hilton and Marriott does. Now, Hilton and Marriott will stick you a 1,000-page playbook. We have the whole thing running on tech. Yep. So we likely will move towards a light franchisable model in the future, where we give the chance for landlords to say, here, take our tech, take our software, we're going to take a cut of your business, and you're going to run this thing without screwing it up because it runs on tech.
And personally, I feel that I kind of hope you don't, in a way, because I'm a perfectionist, so I like the sort of vertical integration control that we had at Wolt. And we initially didn't have the career part sort of under our control. We outsourced it completely, and it was a mess. So I think you will run into a situation when you start franchising, and then you have to come up with the 1,000-page book and be like, okay, follow this to the.
I hope there's a great AI tool for that by the time.
I think, and also I think, because you build yourself as a software company, I think it's sort of like when Steve Jobs said that if you're serious about software, you need your own hardware. But I think if you're serious about operations, you need your own software. But you founded the company without any software engineers. So you have a tech company without tech co-founders. Well, you're a tech entrepreneur, but you don't develop software yourself. How does that work?
There was a clear reason for that. I mean, first of all, I think if we would have had a good tech co-founder at that point identified, we would have brought them on board as equal partners. There's no doubt about that. But we were, sort of the no-code approach. What we wanted to start with that. There's a bunch of software on the market. Average hotel runs on 20 pieces of software. So we thought, let's try them all. And we literally, with those 5 individual apartments in the first building, we spent the first 1.5 years trying them all. And then figuring out the clear, glaring problems, the issues, where we had a massive opportunity to do things better, more efficiently, and either increase top line, increase bottom line, or just revolutionize the experience. And so once we were done that testing and we knew what we wanted to do, at that point we decided, okay, now we go all in with building the tech team, and we got Tim, ex-Pipe Drive, world-class guy based out of Tallinn, and he built a team around it as well. And now obviously we're a full-size tech company.
Well, I personally feel that instead of sort of building the next AI-powered NFT thing on Metaverse, there's a lot of sort of established industries that are just old and tired that no one has sort of looked at.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you sort of did in a way. And I think that what Wolt did, it was just an incremental improvement, a sort of new generation. It wasn't revolutionary, and like people have ordered food and delivered food for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And people have obviously had hotels for God knows how long. So would you say to founders to, like, do you feel like your way of thinking and starting a company is easier or harder, or what you would recommend to other people?
I think the best opportunities are in the forgotten segments, in the forgotten sectors, and you guys with Wolt is a perfect example of that. I mean, you could brush it off and say, oh yeah, it's nothing revolutionary to do food delivery, but yet you guys created a really revolutionary product and a global success story. At the end of the day, go work where you know you've got a passion for it, and once you figure that out, there are there's a ton of industries where you can really make a massive difference towards that, and it doesn't need to be the most cutting edge hype word, but at the same time, if you bring that right mindset to it, and you bring those tools that you're interested in using, and you rethink those business models, there's so much opportunity out there that might face value seem like you're not revolutionizing things, but us entrepreneurs are generally crazy enough to think that we will, and sometimes we succeed.
And now you're raising a new round, my understanding is. So where is Bob W going to be in a couple of years? I'm guessing like the Wolt story from inception to the current situation is 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's say 10 years of Bob W, where are you?
10 years from now will be a global phenomenon. We're doing what Hilton and Marriott did in the 70s to standardize the hotel product and and create that what ended up being the 5-star, 4-star, 3-star standards. And we will do that in the 21st century context, but with tech for the short stay space. So a couple of years from now, already in like we said, in 9 countries today, we're going to have people are going to go for a 2-week trip to Porto, and they're going to ask their friends, are we going to grab a hotel or a Airbnb or a Bob? And Bob is going to be that, what you get short stay experience on steroids, where the brand is equivalent to this new elevated standard of hospitality.
Very good. We lost the clock, but I'm guessing because it's there.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the minus sign in front of it? Does it mean that we're over time?
That probably means we're getting kicked out soon.
Very good. Hey, I want to thank you for answering all the questions, and I don't know how we proceed from this one, but thank you, and
thank you, Elias, and thank you, Arctic15.
and thank you, audience.